Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. A very sticky, warm evening. We are about to begin the final in our series of Artists Open Houses Online, and it's been quite a journey, and you've all been brilliant in helping us devise the series and support us all the way through. And so we're going to make one more ask of you, and if you can, let us know your feedback in any format, but there is a survey if you're a fan of surveys, and that will hopefully help us put forward a strong argument for the future and how we might move forward, and how we might be able to invite people to the E17 Art Trail in 2021 and make it as welcoming and inclusive as possible next year. And then you can also see the short videos that people have been submitting as part of our open call, and I'll share that link with you in a minute. They're 3 to 5 minute films from artists around the borough, sharing with you some very honest, very frank and very generous insight into their lockdown experience. So I'd encourage you to have a look and enjoy those. For this evening, I'm really delighted to welcome Elizabeth and Eleanor, who are both from the Earth Issue, an artist collective. They're going to talk about their own work and the Earth Issue and their past few months' experience. Elizabeth is our guest curator this evening, and she will be in conversation with Eleanor. And do remember to type your questions in the chat, and we can put those to our artists. We can also stay on if you'd like to. At the very end, you can unmute yourselves and stay on for a bit of a social and catch up with each other if you'd like to as well. So without further ado, I will say over to Elizabeth, and good evening, and thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for having us. It's really an amazing thing to be asked to do this because you know, considering the art trail can't happen this year, and it's really cool to welcome you into our houses. I was actually part of the art trail 10 years ago in 2010, so it's really fun to be involved in it this time in 2020. And also the Earth Issue is an East London based collective, so we're almost all of us from Walthamstow, Tottenham or Upper Clapton. So I'm Elizabeth, and this is Eleanor.
Hi, I don't know who. Hi, I'm Eleanor.
This is Eleanor. So we're both from the Earth Issue, and I'm just gonna put it out there that some of you might know me as Lizzie, and some may or may not know Eleanor as Ellie. And considering you're part of the big art family, we're going to go by Lizzie and Ellie for tonight's chat. So I'll tell you a bit about the Earth Issue, but we're going to focus first on Eleanor and her creative practice. When we were asked to do this by Artillery, we were wondering which of our artists to use. So the Earth Issue is a collective of fine artists who intersect environmentalism and fine art, and we all strive to create social change through like image culture and the beauty of nature. So we wondered who out of all of these amazing people we could ask to come and chat to you guys tonight, and I decided that Eleanor, actually, as the co-founder, would be a really interesting person to chat to because she's been doing some amazing stuff. So we're going to talk a bit about that. So, Eleanor, can you tell us a little bit about yourself as an artist and what you do in your practice?
I am a lens-based artist, heavily focused on log techniques. So I gave up shooting digital about 10 years ago now, and I only ever shoot analog. I make a lot of handprints. It's also great because I work in a lab in Bethnal Green, which allows me to just be more in tune with my craft. Over the last 3-4 months, I guess I've adapted to COVID times and shot virtually.
Interesting. Okay, so we're gonna find out more about that in a second. So before we go into it, can you tell me where you were physically and project-wise in the beginning of 2020 and a bit pre-COVID, and how sort of where you were when COVID struck, as it were.
So just a bit pre-COVID, I moved to Berlin over last year because I was craving to have, I guess, more my own space and pay less rent and have a bigger space for the money I paid. And also I'm half, so it made sense to me. But so I moved to Berlin and then quickly realized that I actually have a lot of connections and collaborators in London. So I moved back and forth, doing 3 weeks there, 2 weeks here. And in about mid-February, I came to London because I was going to be here for about a month to work on some projects, and then my plan was to go to California for 3 months to finish off a project or finish an exhibition that was going to coincide with a book launch that I'm doing at the end of the month. Obviously, Trump put the travel ban in and Corona happened and I couldn't travel. So I got stuck in London at a friend's house who luckily put me up in her late mother's artist studio at the top of the house. But that also meant that for the past, how long has it been? 3, 4, 5 months?
5 months.
5 months. I've been sort of just living off what I brought with me to begin with in my suitcase, which was really nothing. And then my friend just put like a single mattress on the floor in our mum's artist studio. So it's very much that I just my own space or anything that was comforting to me, I guess.
Was you didn't have access to any of that. So I mean, the thing is that you were stranded, but you found yourself actually in a creative space, being that it was an artist studio. So do you think was that a space that you felt was conducive to your creative practice, or was the alienness of it difficult to create in?
I think there was a period of time at the beginning when everything was just a bit uncertain and no one really knew what was happening. And I think I probably rode that wave as well. I was just like, I'm not going to do anything. And then I guess there comes a time when you start feeling a bit unproductive, I guess. And I just felt the need to connect with people, I guess I would say, is the main reason for the project that I've been working on that we're going to talk about.
So this project that you've begun during COVID, it came from a realization of connection. So what was the first step that you took, and can you just give us an overview of what that project is?
So the project essentially, it's called Many Hands, which comes from the sentence Many Hands Work. It didn't really have I didn't set out to achieve something. It was just more of a way to keep collaborating with people and stay connected and keep producing work. So what I did is I have a slight / extreme obsession with hands. And I just started reaching out to friends to begin with to see if they would lend me their hands back to shoot. So I initially did screenshots through the laptop and then quickly realized that just it was too digital for me. Like it wasn't satisfying enough. So I started photographing the screen with my analog camera and Polaroid and film just anything I can point my camera towards the screen. And I just got people involved from all over the world who would lend me their hand.
Wow. So like where around the world did you connect with?
Lots of Europe. We had two amazing dancer brothers from Lagos in Nigeria, some people in Brazil and California.
And do you think that you would have been able to connect with that far, you know, a spectrum of people if it hadn't been for the sudden, you know, step away from the physical world and into the virtual?
I mean, I probably wouldn't have thought of it. I think maybe because everything was shut down and the only means I had to connect with people was through the screen. I mean, how many pub quizzes you do through Zoom, you know? It was all just very virtual. So I guess that sparked that I can reach out to those people. And I guess pre-COVID, I just didn't even think of it.
Amazing. Can we have a look at some of the images in the series, please, Laura? So we'll just kind of have a little look at some of the things that Elena created. Can you tell us a little bit about oh, sorry, can we go to the next one? This is our Earth issue team, sorry. Just quickly, wait, Laura, go back one. I forgot to tell everyone. Right, this is the Earth issue. That's me. Sorry. That's Elena, who is the creative director and co-founder. Up at the top is Dippo Coyodiosi, who is our lead designer, and he manages all our web and media content. Next to him is Isabel Landice Redmond, who is our newest recruit, and she's doing fashion and lifestyle, which is a really new and exciting part of the Earth issue. And to the far left is Mela Ohana, who is our editor-in-chief and co-founder, but she's based in Montreal, so we couldn't have her in our group picture, sadly. Yes, sorry, Laura, I forgot to talk about that one. All right, we can go to the next one now. Back to Elena's work. So, did you photograph this one? How did you photograph this? Is this a screen grab, or how's this done?
So, all the images you're about to see, I wouldn't have shown anyone the screenshots because we're not doing digital. So, everything you will see now is all analog based. What I usually do is just set up a Zoom. People who are interested in it, and I would play them a song, and I would just say, "Why move your hands as you wish," and I'm going to capture. Because I don't like giving too much direction. It's more that I just like capturing movement as is, I guess.
Okay, wow. And so this is two people in this image?
Yes, I was very drawn to dancers. I guess because exactly of the fact that they don't need direction at all, and they have just incredible control over their movement already. So I photographed quite a lot of dancers for this project, maybe more so than non-dancers.
Right, okay. So this is the same, this is also a dancer?
Yeah, he's a dancer, he's incredible.
Amazing. Would you be able to show us a little bit around, in your bedroom, I know you've got up on the wall some amazing examples of how you created that work, contact prints and some of your research. Can you show us a little bit of that, please?
Okay, bear with me. I'm going to start at the very top.
Thank you.
So initially, because I have an obsession with hands, I stocked up on so many books about hands, and I started sketching, and I also started embroidering hands into my trousers. And I guess I just started to what's the word? Study hand movement, because I guess I felt a bit more that I did some research behind it. So these are just little pages I ripped out from a book. And then here, this is the first image of a girl called Leah and her boyfriend. I hope this is focused. Oh.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. But yeah, it's crazy to think that these are all just shot virtually, because they don't necessarily look like it at all.
No, well, actually, that there's a painterly quality.
Yeah, like there's a tiny bit of pixelation, which I guess makes it quite special in a way. Oh, sorry, just
maybe that adds the softness that makes it look almost kind of like a painting.
This guy was, his name is Jordan. I'm pretty sure he's a resident in Walthamstow as well, because both of them were commissioned by 2 artists in Walthamstow to be part of a project where people were asked to interact with a dancing video and then interpret it themselves. So that's how I found him, because we had a Zoom chat with all the collaborators. He was a dancer and he just moved incredible. I mean, look at his hand movements. And then we also have Katie over here. She's a dancer as well. She does a lot of yoga classes as well, and just incredible.
Wow.
This guy, I think, is my favorite. He is, I'll show you the contact sheet after. It was actually 2 of them, 2 brothers. I'm pretty sure they're twins. I found them through Instagram. Their movement was just, I've never seen anything like it. So I just messaged them and said, please, can you be part of this project?
Actually, that's a good question. How did you get in touch with all these people from around the world? Did you contact them directly, or did you put a call out?
No, all over Instagram. That's my main way of contacting people these days. I mean, I did put on my story saying, you know, I've been shooting hands. Anyone's interested, get in touch. And some people have, but mainly I would just message them. So here is also a contact sheet I made of the dancer look. So I usually shoot like a whole roll and take it to the lab and print these all myself. I don't know how close I can get without losing focus.
So during the time that you've been kind of a bit rootless with no, like, you know, no fixed abode, as it were, you have had a place where you can develop and print, right?
I mean, I would definitely say that lab. So the lab I work at is called Labyrinth Photographic. I would definitely call it a home, because I get to just put all my work in there, use the space, and just create from there. So I guess you could call it a little studio in itself.
So do you think that's been really your creative base during this kind of tumultuous, turbulent time?
Yeah, for sure. Also because we didn't really close. We were kind of open throughout Corona, and then only the people who could bike in would go in and then keep their, but it was actually quite nice because it gave, essentially it was a way out of being stuck at home.
Yeah.
I'm just going to show you this one, which is one of my favorites. This is a girl called Sydney. She was out in California. So just kept capturing her movement, which I guess is really nice, what you could do on a contact sheet, because you could just see all of it. And then these were the 2 brothers I was telling you about. They called the Ebonham brothers. So yeah,
were you giving them direction on like the backgrounds or like on the setup of the shot, or were they just kind of going online wherever they were?
So the whole project evolved by me taking these photographs, and then at some point my 2 other of my friends who are filmmakers were saying, why don't we develop this into a moving image piece and film people through the screen as opposed to just photograph them. And then we also, should I go off this again?
Yeah, you can come off and come back to sitting down if you like.
Okay, let me just, sorry.
So whilst Elena repositions her camera, I'll just sort of say that what you've seen now is kind of the stuff that happened, I guess, speaking on Elena's behalf, in the months when we were in lockdown, in like the real kind of intense lockdown period. So you're starting to kind of get to the point that I was going to say or ask you about, which is that I'd like to know where this project is at now, and like sort of what's the future of this project. Where are you at?
Sorry, I'm just still repositioning my camera.
Okay, no problem. Carry on.
Okay, I'm good. Oh, wait. No. So where we're at now, basically, what was I saying? So we started filming through the camera, set up a Zoom. We had my friends Seth and Poppy, who are part of a film production company called Sunday. They were filming and directing. And then we also got another friend involved called Richie, who goes by the artist name of Timber, to create an original soundtrack for it. And then another friend called Frankie Wade, who's an incredible poet and spoken word guy, to write a piece for it, essentially. Just talking about the longing for touch, the thing of it, longing for connection. And all of that came together to make a short art film, which, Laura, if you want to get the slide in of Dazed, which we're very proud that it will premiere on Dazed on Saturday at 12 o'clock.
So we don't actually have a link to it yet because it comes out on Saturday, but if you look on, I know that Laura's going to send a link to the website for the Earth issue, and from that you'll be able to go to our Instagram. You'll see links to that. So if you want to be able to see the video by Elena, that is a culmination of this whole project, have a check out of that on Saturday. We're all really excited for this to come out. I've seen a sneak preview of it and I found it quite emotional, so I can't say more because it's not we're not able to show it to you just this week. If we're doing it next week, then we could definitely show you, but the launch is on Saturday, so keep your eyes peeled for that. That's amazing that you've had such an interesting project happen. Do you think that this year, like so far, has been more good or more bad for you creatively?
I actually think that this year has been my best year creatively. Maybe because I've had more time to slow down and be present and really focus on the projects that I want to do, rather than do projects that will pay the bills. Also, just a lot of connections have been made through this time, like even with Frankie, for example, the spoken word guy. Made a lot of new friends, just connected with more people, started a lot of collaborative projects, and a lot of like commissioned work came in as well. I know that a lot of people obviously have been saying that Corona and the pandemic happening has slowed it down for them, and might have to reevaluate what they want to do. But for me, it's been one of the best years.
Wow.
Which I almost be saying it because it's like I don't want to, but yeah.
Do you think that because we've been so kind of like, well, not everyone has been isolated on their own, but everything's been such a shake up of the norm. Do you think that you found that other people are seeking the connection that you're also seeking?
I mean, surely it's a very human thing to want to feel connection. So I did when I started the Hands project, I asked everyone, like, how do you feel about being so disconnected from people, or do you crave it? And mostly everyone said that, there was a week or two where they quite enjoyed being alone, and then all they really wanted to do is hug people and be with their friends.
Yeah.
It's a very, very natural human thing to want to be connected to people and to feel touch.
And that's it really, isn't it? The hand is the symbol of touch, and it's the thing that we've all been denied from our loved ones to even people in the street or people that you would normally have a handshake with. Like,
hands are literally the first connection you have with someone else.
But we did, and you can see also here, like we did during that week, we taught people how to use flowers and pigments to dye their own items, and we hosted some like panels on fashion and eco fashion and sustainable fashion, and engaged with, like I said, lots of different people. So that is one thing that I just wanted to bring up as something that we weren't able to do this year, which has been a real shame. But we did do our first ever online exhibition, which is another new learning curve for us. So actually some of Eleanor's work is in there. If you, Laura, take a look at the first image, you can see this work by he's an artist called Moki, who's based in Berlin, who does these like incredible surrealist kind of paintings, but also, you know, quite realist. And the whole exhibition was about being quiet, because suddenly, I don't know if you guys all felt it, but the world seemed quiet. No? It did.
The world went quiet.
Suddenly you can hear the bird.
Well,
sorry, say that again.
I was saying that quiet that everyone felt, I think it was very necessary as well.
Yeah, especially in London, when you're used to going a mile a minute and like pow, 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 working through lots of things. And yeah, suddenly we had this moment to, center. And so that was what that exhibition was about. And actually doing it in the online sphere, where you could sit with your computer, and there's a link to it that Laura will send. You can sit with your computer in a quiet space and quietly take in those artworks. And in a sense, that means that not being in a physical space where, you know, you hear the squeaking of someone's shoes, or the opening and shutting of the door, or a cough or a sneeze, you know, actually that was a really interesting, different way of, you know, harnessing the power of the theme of the exhibition, quietness, you know.
Plus it also makes it accessible to everyone, which is,
yes.
Obviously, you know, if you go to an exhibition, there's always a limited amount of that can come or will be able to attend. Whereas if you do launch one online, then you have the opportunity to have everyone involved and show everyone.
Yeah, and there's no stigma attached to it. You can just like log in your own time, and not feel like you're being, you know, someone's looking over your shoulder. Yeah, it is very accessible. So that was a really interesting thing for us. And so yeah, then obviously, so that was what we would be doing this time last year.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were saying what time of the month it was.
No, that was like around the time that we would normally be doing like I was talking about, the edition hotel. So then we would, you know, like Ellie was saying earlier, we would usually be working on the magazine, but as everyone knows, there was COVID. In the beginning of the year, we had Australia bushfires, and we also had Brazilian fires, and so many things have been kind of happening that you just can't obviously ignore. And I think we realised then that there was something different that we could be doing with our platform. So Ellie, could you just tell us a little bit about what shifted for us in terms of that?
So I think maybe for a while I felt as though, because our platform was growing, it was more that I felt a responsibility to not only just show artwork, but I guess be a resource, or be able to educate people in what's going on. So around, I think it was the beginning of June, when George Floyd was murdered by the police, and I guess the whole world just went into uproar. It was very hard for us. It was very hard for me to not try and do something about it. So this all happened, and our team, within about 48 hours, pulled all our resources and clientele together and launched a print fundraiser to help the Black Lives Matter movement.
And who was the original beneficiaries of that?
So to begin with, we wanted to split the donations right down the middle between a London-based youth organisation called Forefront Project, and then half would go to the Floyd bail funds. But because I just want to say that we had absolutely no idea that this would blow up so much, but because in the course of, it was on for 30 days, we made so much money, and so many funds were raised that every week we decided that we would donate to individual causes as well. We had people submit causes or like GoFundMe pages, or just give us, you know, we asked our readership to submit or just show us what's the word, to like guide us towards urgent fundraisers that needed help. So yeah, the first two we donated to Forefront Project and George Bail funds, and then the last two rounds we were able to donate to so many individual causes and organizations. And yeah,
because I think we also realized that what we were, you know, in the beginning of the movement, there was like, it was very much focused on the US, and then being a London-based organization, we were like, we need to support people, you know, who are victims of this sort of thing in this country. But then we realized
all over the world.
Yeah, it's all over the world. So it was really amazing because we were able to give this, you know, this Google Doc, this open Google Doc to everyone who engages with the Earth issue, and everyone who actually, anyone who bought an artwork and submitted, or literally anyone who engaged with it was also able to sign on and give their you know, GoFundMes or organizations in need of support during like this time. So tell us, Ellie, about the artists who were involved. Were they all Earth issue artists?
No, so because I was trying to do this in about 24 hours to 48 hours, I remember it was a Monday night where I had the thought that, you know, we should do a fundraiser or a print fundraiser. And then the next day I was at work, and because we have a lot of photographers through the lab, I reached out to all of them to see if they would like to get involved. I wrote about 200 that day. Most of them said yes, and then within literally 48 hours we got everyone to send their TIFF files. We talked to the print space, who set up like a running order through Shopify, so every time people would buy a print, it would go through the print space, they'd ship it out. And we just got so many requests from artists all over the world saying, I want to donate, I want to help. So at the end of it, we had over 300 artists donate, and every week we'd release a whole new round of maybe 80 to 100 new artists, just to keep the momentum going and to like release new visual imagery. But it was mainly photographers, yes, probably because I'm surrounded by a lot of photographers more than any other artists.
I think also what's interesting to mention is that before we did our fundraiser, there was a fundraiser in the beginning of COVID by the Trussell Trust, which was, I think they raised about £600,000, and it was for the NHS. So they did lots of rainbows. So some of you might have seen that. So they were the kind of like the precedent setters, and then we did ours. And since that's happened, I've seen quite a few other print fundraisers go live online. And I think what's really interesting about that is that in this moment where especially freelancers in the creative industries maybe are losing work, are struggling financially, but seeing all these horrific things happening. I mean, today yesterday we saw the Beirut explosion, and so there's these horrific things that are happening to people, and I'm sure that most people would love to get involved, but are those of us who are financially not able to do that. Suddenly the print fundraiser gives an opportunity to artists who wouldn't be able to financially contribute but can creatively contribute. And so there's a trend for this now. So I think, just out of interest to highlight it, I think that that's something really interesting that's come from this kind of lockdown period.
Can I just say, Queen, as well, that I read, there was an article that surfaced about a month or so ago from the Sunday Times, and they put in the top essential workers and the top non-essential workers, and the top non-essential people during Corona were classed as artists, which I just thought was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard, because look how much money, or how many funds we were able to provide, and see how many more print funds. Like, I saw another one today up for Beirut. So artists are so crucial and essential to these times. So no to the Sunday Times.
Interesting. I didn't read that myself, I've got to say, but yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
It's
like there. Just like, nope.
I see. So I guess like the next part is that, you know, we've been through this really crazy time. Like, you know, like I said, it started with the bushfires, it went on through, you know, lots of twists and turns, and we've now got to the point where this time last year we would have done and dusted the annual magazine, and now we are just getting ready. Pre-orders have gone out, and we're just getting ready to print, and we're bringing all of the things that we've seen and learned and felt and engaged with this year, from, you know, all these horrific things, and we're kind of amalgamating them all into an issue, but the focus of the issue is artists and the way that artists can look at the situation and find creative solutions. So Elena, can you just tell us a little bit more about issue number 4, A Dream of Tomorrow?
So for the 4th issue, we were looking at alternative vision, especially in a world marked by, as you said, we had the Australian bushfires, we had COVID, we had mass, and then we've got Beirut. So the whole issue is essentially, what is the role of artists, and how does the artist reimagine the world? How can we reconstruct it? How can we design a better tomorrow so that it ensures an approach that takes into account human well-being but environmental protection? So really it's just a template of the path that is of recovery essentially ahead, and which is why we called it A Dream of Tomorrow, because we would like to have it be hopeful and find better creative solutions, like you said.
Yeah. Can you tell us just really quickly, I'm sort of conscious that we're running out of time. We don't want to keep everyone out, you know, for ages on a evening like today. You know, there's lots of nice weather. So quickly, just tell me a little bit about Mary Mattingly's work. She's the front cover artist.
Yeah, so the reason we chose the front cover as well is because she has a really great project called Wearable Homes, which is also really relevant in COVID times, which essentially is a project that imagines a post-apocalyptic scenario in which humans need to carry all the resources they require for survival on their bodies. And she was talking that the whole project is rooted in her anxieties concerning the environment and speculative future, but also driven on a very strong instinct to move towards the healing and togetherness that I experienced in the last months of social crisis. So that is also one of my favorite projects as well. It's really interesting. And she's been working on it for the last 20 years. also inspired through 9/11 and just needing people to come together. And yeah, it's just a crisis-driven project which imagines a better future. And yeah.
Amazing. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up there, and I see lots of questions popping up. I just want to say, just cycling back to the Black Lives Matter fundraiser, where that wasn't something that happened and then finished and then that's it. It has changed the earth issue and the way that we work and the way that we engage with artists of colour and like BAME people, and we are hoping to put on another online exhibition, and hopefully in 2021 a physical exhibition of some of those artworks, and we're trying to engage with many more people of colour, and we're actually involving a guest curator called Elena Cremona, who's going to curate that for us, and hopefully there will also be a little addition to sort of slip into the earth issue, to show also all those artworks, which of course will be an extension of the fundraiser, and funds that are achieved by either more sales if we do a physical exhibition next year, or sales of the little insert that we're kind of still in the very early stages of conceptualizing. We'll also go towards any causes that are to do with Black Lives Matter. So Elena, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we open up to questions?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot of what we're up to at the moment.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you all for listening, and it's really like I said in the beginning, it's really a pleasure to be invited to come and chat to whoever's listening. Sorry, go on.
One little thing that I would like to say is that when we print our issues, we also print them entirely sustainable, recycled with vegetable inks. So not only do we show new works, environmental work that needs to be engaged in dialogue, but also we introduce new printing methods that are sustainable and that don't,
aren't widely used.
Yeah.
And you can pre-order the magazine if you're interested. It's going to be a really phenomenal one. I'm really personally, I would say this because I'm biased, but I think this is like the best one yet. So also the last issue, which was called Manifesto, was just some of the works in there were mind-blowing. So if you haven't got that, I'd also add that to your bookshelf. But like I said, I'm biased. So yes, anyway, thank you so much. And thank you both. Yeah, Penny, do you want to ask us some questions?
Yeah, we've got quite a lot of questions. That was hugely impressive. I think the way that you've been so responsive and sort of agile to react to things during this period is amazing. I think the idea that creatives and artists aren't essential workers when actually culture has got us through a lot of this is ridiculous. And it's sort of thinking about the conversations we had at the last event with Martin and Mo, another two artists that are very much engaged with what's happening in the world. One of the questions that's come up just recently is how do you actually select your artists?
So we will open up for submissions, and then we will get submissions through, and then I guess we'll filter through them. Usually we don't go in with a theme that we already know. We will select a theme from the submissions. That's usually our process. A lot of the times as well, we will approach artists ourselves that we think might fit or have an interesting concept that needs highlighting.
And that's for the magazine. So for our actual collective and for anything featured on Instagram or on our website, you just have to fit our mission really, which is it is fine art. So we tend not to showcase commercial works, although since we've kind of expanded to fashion and lifestyle, there has been a bit more commercial work shown, but they tend to be, we do a thing called artist highlighting, who tend to be just people that we're inspired by or want to share with our readership, rather than artists who are represented by us in our collective.
Essentially, if you engage in sustainability, environmentalism, raise awareness,
social change,
all of that, as long as you fit the category of what we do, then good.
But so it's really social media that you use for the most.
Yeah, Instagram is our main social media. We did try Twitter for a bit, and I'm horrible at it, and I deleted my Facebook about 6 years ago. But I also think that Instagram is such a great tool for artists and such a great resource as well. So
visually, visually.
I mean, one of the questions that came up earlier when you were talking about your hands work was actually, do you think that social media actually restricts the kind of people that might get involved and get to know about what you're doing?
Potentially, because maybe the people I engage with on social media are much or younger or in my age bracket. So there might be, it might be restrictive in that way, but also it's not restrictive in the way that I can connect with people miles away.
You connected, you were seeking out dancers. Do you think that another step in the process, if you wanted to expand the age range or the type of people that you could get involved, would you consider contacting dance companies?
I have.
You have? Okay. And did they come back to you, or?
Some of them did, which I got one or two artists. There's I don't have any pictures of them now. There's a dance pair. Oh no, I did. There was a picture of there were two people in a grid. They were dancing. They were from the Amsterdam Royal College of Ballet or something, which I found through their actual dance company Instagram.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
But
interesting that they're also young.
I mean, most of the people I photographed for this project, I guess, were young. Yeah.
Because actually that one of the questions that did come up is that you've got some wonderfully young, beautiful people, but actually with hands in particular, older people's hands have a certain beauty and an interest as a subject. Would you consider that?
I mean, I did photograph my mum's hands, and I also photographed my friend's mum's hands. It's just that I guess there was more younger people who were willing to be photographed, or I just know more younger people than older people.
That's fair. I don't think it was meant as a criticism. I think the actual skill that you show in terms of creating images is extraordinary. So actually you can imagine how it could be extended.
I mean, I would love to photograph older people's hands as well. I mean, every time I go see my grandma in Italy, I will just photograph her hands away. It's just that I guess I don't have that much access to people older than me.
So you had people, you like dancers. Was there any particular music that you were using, or did they provide the music?
So because we extended the project into a moving piece, and we got the artist Matembo involved, we just used his songs to guide them with tempo, I guess. So yeah, we'd always play the same song to them.
Okay. And you did this all through Zoom?
Yeah, and FaceTime.
had you done that before COVID, or because obviously we all kind of discovered Zoom during this period?
No, I never thought of it. I had never thought of taking pictures through the screen.
I mean, how did you sort of develop the idea that you could do that? I mean, you must have started pretty quickly.
I think it was just I was just trying to capture as much as I could, and because I mostly gravitate towards people and capturing people and human essence, and therefore being a lack of in COVID, I used to just FaceTime my friends, and then I just take a picture of your hands, or kind of just photograph through the screen, and then that's where it came from.
So actually the opportunity to reach out and get involved with people all over the world, it's been quite an extraordinary experience for you, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You must have heard different people's stories. Did you have any interesting stories from people that you worked with?
You know, we didn't talk too much. It was a lot of the like same conversation to begin with, like, hey, how's your lockdown going? Feeling about it, and then just sort of goes. Our Zoom calls would only be about 20 minutes long.
Right.
Yeah.
And the material that you produced, did you find you could use most of it, or did you discard?
No, I used most of it.
Okay. Is that unusual?
Not really. But I think because I shoot analog, I'm selective anyway, and I won't shoot as I would if I'd shoot digital. So let's say I'm on a editorial, in a day I would shoot about 5 rolls, whereas on Zoom I was fine with just 1 roll, which still gave 36 pictures, and that's more than enough for me.
Okay. I mean, do you think this is going to change the way you work from now on?
I did have I got a commission through 2 weeks ago to shoot a musician who was based in Atlanta through Zoom. So I think maybe platforms or brands open to work around that. But I'm also noticing that everything's going kind of back to normal. And I love interacting firsthand. So if I have the opportunity to shoot people in real life or through Zoom, I will choose the real life.
Fair enough. As a collective, or maybe as yourself, have you ever thought about, obviously these are issues that are really important to us, and you're looking at the challenges that society faces in the future. Have you ever thought about working with any schools, or have you worked with any schools on projects?
We have.
We haven't really done that in the past, but we're just starting to think about working with projects like with the next exhibition of the Black Lives Matter Freedom Fundraiser. We're looking at getting involved with a group called Flock Together, who are a group that go out bird watching, and they are made up predominantly of people of colour or of lower socio-economic backgrounds. So although no, we haven't really thought much about getting involved with schools per se. We did do a few lectures at universities, but not so much the secondary or primary level.
Mm-hmm.
I think also the whole Earth Issue team does Earth Issue work as a secondary job, essentially. We all have different jobs full time during the week. The Earth Issue is more of a passion project, so sometimes it just gets a bit hard to try and balance both those things and try and find other collaborations, like working with schools. I think some of them are just like logistically might be a bit problematic with our work schedule.
True.
A few people are saying they can't get hold of, they're trying to order the latest magazine and it's not available, but we can send some things out, I think, afterwards.
Yeah, we'll send a link to the pre-orders.
Okay.
I mean, it should all work. That's a little worrying.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, well, issues 1 and 3 sold out, somebody's asked.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I said you should get issue 3 and you can't get issue 3. I'm so sorry.
Get the issue 4.
Get issue 4. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, actually, issue 1, 2, and 3 all sold out. And
No,
they sold it.
sorry,
No, but we did a new round of issue 2, didn't we?
Yeah, we restocked issue 2.
Yeah.
Well,
But yeah, issue
so
1
what
and 3.
print run are you doing?
Sorry?
What kind of print run are you doing on these? How many?
About 300.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
We got our second issue stocked at the Tate as well, which is great. It sold out in literally a week at the Tate because it was going. They wanted it with the Olafur Eliasson exhibition because that was all environmental based.
Yeah.
I'm just on the website and the link works.
You haven't mentioned any of the writers that work on the magazine.
Oh, sorry. We don't go and commission artists or writers. Usually we will get proposals for an already written work from a writer, or we'll get approached by a writer saying, this is who I want to introduce and write about. But we've had, for each article, either the artist himself or herself will write the essay, or a writer will write for it, and then Mela, who's our editor-in-chief, will then edit it all through, and she does an amazing job at it. She's incredible with words.
And we do some in-house like in conversation interviews as well.
Right. And you're a poet, aren't you, Elizabeth?
Yes. Yeah. So I have been known to perform a few pieces at our Earth Issue events. I've also done some at the Walthamstow Garden Party, so you may have heard me before.
Have you ever thought of having any poetry in the magazine?
I have actually had some poetry in the magazine before. In issue 1, we had a painting by me and a poem by me. So yeah, I've had that in the past. That's
good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just having a quick look to see if I've missed any questions. One of the questions I had, the images that you were showing of hands, Elena, what's your you've got an incredible skill across different art forms. Where did you train?
I went to uni at University in Bournemouth, which is how I met Lizzie. We actually met on the very first.
The induction day. Firm friends for life.
Wow.
I must say that I don't think, although uni was very beneficial for me in the way I did research, I don't think my practice really had anything to do with it.
Okay.
I think I could have easily not gone to uni.
That's interesting. But then you wouldn't have met Elizabeth.
Right?
I loved my uni experience. It was the best experience I had. It was great. But I wouldn't necessarily tell other artists to go and seek university or that education because of it.
Right. You don't think it had a huge impact on your practice then?
No.
Okay.
See, I would completely disagree.
Fair enough.
For me, I think for me, like I ended up going down the curation and kind of like a different route. Like when I graduated, I went to work in galleries in Mayfair, and I very much kind of am more on the exhibiting spectrum of things. And I don't think that had I not gone to university, like in my at secondary school and at college, I wasn't ever given the opportunity or the encouragement to learn about art history and creativity, or to really creatively express myself. And I think that for some people like myself, had I not gone to university, I don't think I would have ever been confident enough to go into and pursue a creative career path, because I wouldn't have really believed that it was truly possible to achieve a I don't know, I think when I was younger I thought that I would be a starving artist and then I'd just have to get a job in a bank. So I think that for me and for some people it is really important. So I don't know, we're both from different ends of the spectrum, I suppose.
I guess I'm more talking about like being trained in technical ways.
Yeah,
because I don't think most of like what I know technically and about the darkroom I learned by working at the lab. I don't think I got the right. I did print at uni, but I taught myself. I don't think I had the right guidance for it, so I wouldn't. I don't know. Not saying that it wasn't a great experience. It was the greatest experience ever.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I sometimes I feel like it didn't quite prepare me for everything that's attached to being an artist, like how to copyright or license your images. Like no one teaches you about being self-employed or how to do work. Like all of that stuff you have to figure out for yourself, and it's quite overwhelming.
Yeah, I would say though that general education lacks that. Like I don't think anyone taught me how to do a tax return when I was at secondary school. I feel like they should have done that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Actually, that has raised another question. We've heard what job you do, Eleanor, but what other jobs do other people in the collective do?
So Dipper is a graphic designer. He just designs freelance for other brands and magazines as well. Isabel is a stylist for. She worked for brands before, and then she stopped doing that and went freelance because she was not agreeing with their ethos and the way they just disregard clothes and add to consumption. So she's a freelance.
I think she also experienced some systematic racism in some of the companies she was working with as well.
Yeah, she wasn't treated very well. But yeah, so she's now a freelance physical stylist. And Mela from Montreal, she owns her own gallery and is a curator.
Wow. I did miss one of the questions about hands. I just noticed is whether you've actually looked at some of the cave artists. And let me find it. I can't find it now. Bear with me. Chat amongst yourselves.
I don't think I've looked at any cave artists.
Which artists have you looked at? Have you looked at Renaissance artists and things like that?
I'm all over the Renaissance art. That's my favourite art ever. I love it. Or like pictures of hands, or just anything in that period. It's just so gentle and romantic. The romantic hands.
Yeah, and I found it. Yeah, have you thought about the earlier human paints made with hands? Oh, so not off hand.
Okay, made with hands. Yeah. I haven't thought about it for this series, mainly because I'm more interested in the hands rather than what to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah.
And so this project is very much your project rather than something necessarily connected to what you do at the Earth issue.
It's got nothing to do with the Earth issue.
Yeah, totally separate. But we wanted to like interview Eleanor as an artist on her own kind of like separate, in her own separate space, just because I felt like it was a really interesting, her engagement with COVID has been really particularly interesting. I thought you guys would be interested in hearing about that.
It's been fantastic and really sort of using this period to do something so extraordinary and making the best use of the virtual world, which we've all had to do.
Yeah.
We can't be with people. So I really like the idea of hands and connecting people and the fact that about a human connection, but you're using the virtual world to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's the end of our questions. I found that absolutely fascinating. I think what you're both doing, what you're all doing, is amazing.
Thanks.
And you should be so proud of what you've achieved. That fundraiser is extraordinary.
I don't know if we said how much we actually got in the end. It was like £213,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, also just to like add to that, like when we were giving originally to Forefront and to the United Bail Funds in the US, and then we decided to diversify, it was extraordinary to be able to give directly to GoFundMes. Like, for example, there was an example of a young US black man in Israel who had the exact same, almost the exact same situation, where police had racially profiled him and pushed him to the floor and stamped on him, and he couldn't breathe, and he wasn't killed like George Floyd, but he was taken in an unmarked car to an unmarked location. He was beaten and then thrown back out on the streets, and they then tried to put him in jail, saying, you know, lots of ridiculous charges which were completely untrue. And we were like, that's just one example, but we were able to give enough money from just a very small segment to what that, out of that £213,000, we were able to give enough to that cause that he was able to afford a lawyer and be able to completely have all those charges dropped against him. And I mean, that's just one example of some of the smaller causes that we were able to make a difference with. And that goes back to what Elena's saying, like, artists have the power to really make change, and that's like really the core of the Earth issue. Like, we can harness the beauty and the amazing power of image culture to create social change, and I think that really says it all.
Well, I think a round of applause to you all. Really well done. It's just amazing what you're doing. Thank you. I'll hand you back to Laura.
Thank you so much, Penny, and thank you so much, Elizabeth and Eleanor. Yes, please, everyone unmute yourselves if you'd like to give them a round of applause. There are amazing number of questions, amazing number of comments thanking you for this evening. So little applause, everyone. Absolutely brilliant. You've all summed up so well, so I don't feel the need to say a huge amount, but because you've covered so much. But I think that was an incredible way to round off our series. And I know people often put far too much responsibility in the hands of the next generation, but it does feel like it's in very safe hands. What we found utterly brilliant, ingenious, innovative and passionate things you're doing. So thank you for sharing them with us tonight. Thank you to everyone that's been in this series and supported it. Orlando for your technical advice, Penny for your brilliant curation, Farah in the background doing some fab following up and helping people with the open call, and Morag, of course. And I wish you all a wonderful summer. Stay tuned. We're working hard on the next things, and as ever, we're going to ask for your input in that. So have a lovely evening and stick around to chat if you'd like to.
Thank you so much for having us.
We said that in time.
I know. We're the same person.